You better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the fucking pot! Drop the pot! Drop the fucking pot!
19 shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Springfield, Illinois. A quiet stretch of night in early July. A woman alone in her home. The clock reads just after midnight. She thinks she hears something, footsteps, a sound outside the window, maybe nothing at all. But the feeling doesn't go away. That tightening in her chest, that instinct that tells her something isn't right. So she picks up the phone. The same phone she used to call her mother, her friends, her church. Tonight, she uses it for something else, for help. The voice on the other end says, 911, what's your emergency? She answers softly, trying to steady her breathing. She tells them she thinks someone's outside. She's alone. She's scared. It's a call that happens hundreds of times a day across America. A frightened person reaches out, trusting that help will come. And soon, headlights cut through the dark. The sound of gravel crunching beneath tires. Help has arrived. 2 deputies step out of their patrol car. The air is still. The streetlights hum. They make their way to the house on Livingstone Road. Inside is 36-year-old Sonya Massey. She's waiting by the door, thankful someone came. She doesn't know their names. She doesn't know what's about to happen. But she believes, in that moment, that everything will be okay. Because that's what we're told. When you call for help, you'll be safe. Minutes later, that belief will be shattered. What unfolded inside that small Springfield home would leave a community shaken, a family broken, and a nation asking how a simple call for help could end with a woman shot dead in her own kitchen. This is the story of Sonya Massey, a woman who reached out for protection, and instead met the barrel of a gun. You're watching True Crime Tales. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth documentaries told with truth and respect. Before that night, before flashing lights, yellow tape, and headlines, there was simply Sonya. She was 36 years old. A daughter, a sister, a friend. Born and raised in Springfield, Illinois. A small city where people know each other's faces and news travels fast. Sonya had a warmth that people remembered. She was soft-spoken, polite, and almost shy at times. The kind of person who always said thank you to the cashier, who held the door open even when she was in a hurry. To her friends, she was the one who prayed for others before herself. To her family, she was the peacemaker, always finding ways to calm arguments, always looking for light in difficult places. Those who knew her said she had been through a lot. Life hadn't been easy. She'd faced anxiety, and sometimes she struggled with her mental health, something she tried to manage quietly. She worked different jobs over the years, clerical, retail, anything steady that helped her keep her small home and her independence. Church was her constant. On Sundays, she'd wear her favorite blue dress and sit near the back, whispering her prayers. Faith gave her peace. But it also gave her a belief that if she ever needed help, someone would come. July 6, 2024, was an ordinary summer night. The kind of night where the air hangs heavy and the streets fall quiet after dark. Sonya was home alone, in a modest one-story house she'd worked hard to afford. Around midnight, she thought she heard something. Maybe outside her window, maybe near the back door. A noise that set her heart racing. She looked out but saw nothing. She checked the locks twice. Still, the unease wouldn't go away. For most people, the next step is instinctive. Call for help. That's what she did. She picked up her phone, pressed 3 numbers, 911, and told the operator she thought someone was outside. It wasn't the first time she'd called the police. In the past, she'd asked for patrols when she felt unsafe or heard strange noises in her neighborhood. This time, she told them she was alone, that she needed someone to check. Minutes later, 2 deputies from the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to her address. Their names, Sean Grayson and Dawson Farley. Both men arrived just after 12:30 a.m. Their dash cameras recorded the moment their car turned onto Livingstone Road, the glow of headlights cutting through darkness. Sonya met them at the door. She looked tired, nervous, but grateful. She let them inside, still clutching her phone. To her, they represented safety, a promise that things would be okay now. She didn't know that within the next 10 minutes, one of those men would pull a trigger that would end her life. In that moment, Sonya wasn't a headline or a statistic. She was a woman who simply wanted to feel safe in her own home. But that night, safety never came. What happened inside that kitchen, what was said, what was done, would later be dissected in courtrooms, replayed on news screens, and haunt a family forever. This is where the tragedy truly began. When deputies Sean Grayson and Dawson Farley arrived at 12:33 a.m., the neighborhood was silent. The street lights flickered above their patrol car as they stepped out into the night. Bodycams captured every move, every sound from that moment on. The deputies scanned the yard with their flashlights. No movement. No signs of forced entry. No problema. The call seemed routine, a possible false alarm. But protocol required them to make contact with the caller. Inside, Sonya Massey stood near her kitchen. Nervous but relieved to see help had arrived. She unlocked her door and invited them in. On the bodycam footage, her voice trembles slightly, polite, grateful. She explains that she thought someone was outside. The deputies reassure her, saying they'll take a quick look around. They check the windows, step into the backyard briefly. Still nothing. When they come back inside, Sonya is in the kitchen. She's holding a small pot from the stove. There's hot water inside. She tells them she was about to make tea. Then something changes. Grayson raises his voice. The tone shifts from calm to commanding. He tells her to put down the pot.
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I would rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
Rebuke you in the name of
You better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face.
Okay.
She appears startled, unsure, maybe confused. She tries to explain, to say it's just water. In less than 10 seconds, everything unravels. Grayson unholsters his weapon. Farley, the second deputy, later said he barely understood why. A single shout echoes in the small kitchen, then 3 shots. Sonya collapses to the floor. The pot spills beside her. The camera shakes as Grayson steps back, shouting for Farley to call it in. Shots fired. Civilian down. Those were the words that went out over the radio. Farley kneels beside her, radioing for medical assistance. His hands tremble. He tells dispatch that the woman is unresponsive. Grayson stands back, breathing hard, his gun still drawn. The footage shows no weapon in Sonya's hands. No aggression. No movement toward the deputies. It takes less than 1 minute from the first raised voice to the last gunshot. A single minute that would alter lives forever. Paramedics arrive at 12:40 a.m. They attempt CPR. But it's too late. Sonya Massey is pronounced dead at the scene, her own home, the same place she thought she'd be safest. In that kitchen, where she once made tea and whispered prayers, now lay the evidence of a tragedy. A woman's body, a spiyat butt, and 3 shell casings that told the story of a system gone wrong. Within hours, news of the shooting spread through Springfield. Questions began to surface. Why did he shoot? Was she armed? Did he fear for his life, or lose control of it? By sunrise, the community had one name on their lips, Sonya Massey. When the gunfire stopped, the sound that followed was silence. For nearly 5 seconds, no one spoke. No movement. Just the hollow echo of 3 rounds fired inside a kitchen built for family dinners, not violence. Deputy Farley's voice breaks through, shaky, panicked. He calls for medical assistance, his words stumbling over themselves. Grayson says nothing at first. His breathing is heavy, his weapon still raised. He looks down at what he's done. The woman who called them for help now lies motionless on the floor. Farley rushes to her side. He tries to check for a pulse. The pot of hot water has spilled across the floor, steam curling toward the ceiling. Grayson keeps pacing, repeating a single line under his breath. She came at me. On the body cam, his voice sounds unsure, almost rehearsed. There's no sign that Sonya ever moved toward him. Paramedics arrive within minutes, guided by the flashing red and blue outside. They cut through the tape, step carefully into the kitchen, and begin CPR. At 12:48 a.m., Sonya Massey is pronounced dead. Outside, neighbors begin to gather behind their windows. Some record on their phones, others whisper, trying to understand what happened. The rumor spreads fast. A woman shot by police inside her own home. By dawn, the scene is sealed. Yellow tape wraps around the small house on Livingstone Road. Detectives arrive, crime scene photographers move in silence. 3 shell casings. A kitchen knife still clean and untouched by the sink. A mug, a phone, a Bible on the counter. Nothing that suggests a threat, only the fragments of an ordinary night. The Sangamon County Sheriff's Office issues its first statement at 8 a.m. An officer-involved shooting occurred after a 911 call for assistance. No name released. No details given. Just another press release on county letterhead. But inside Springfield, something feels different. This isn't a chase or a standoff or a gun drawn in the dark alley. This is a woman who called for help and was killed by the deputy who arrived to protect her. Her mother, Mary Massey, receives the call at sunrise. The officer on the other end says her daughter was involved in an incident. She asks what kind. He hesitates. Then he says the words every parent dreads. She didn't make it. Within hours, the Massey family gathers outside Sonya's home. Police still block the street. A neighbor brings flowers. Another brings a small framed photo from church. Reporters begin to arrive, microphones ready, cameras rolling. But her family can barely speak. They stand behind the tape, staring at the door she once opened for safety. Deputy Sean Grayson is taken back to the sheriff's office for questioning. He turns in his weapon, still stained from the night before. He tells investigators he fired because he feared for his life. He says she raised the pot like a weapon. The footage, however, tells a different story. In the hours after the shooting, Illinois State Police take over the investigation. They collect the bodycam videos, gather statements, and send the footage to be reviewed frame by frame. Each second of that recording will soon be analyzed by prosecutors, defense attorneys, journalists, and eventually the world. But that morning, before any verdicts or protests or press conferences, there was only one truth. A woman who asked for help was gone. A deputy who was supposed to protect her had pulled the trigger. And a community that had gone to sleep quietly the night before woke up to a nightmare. Investigation begins, July 7, 2024, 7 a.m. By sunrise, the shooting on Livingstone Road was no longer a private tragedy. It had become a case, and a question, for an entire city. The Sangamon County Sheriff's Office issued a short press release. A deputy discharged his firearm during a response to a 911 call. The subject was fatally struck. No name. No details. Just another paragraph in the long language of law enforcement. But the residents of Springfield wanted answers. By noon, the story had spread across Illinois. Woman killed after calling 911. Journalists flooded the neighborhood. Satellite trucks lined the street. And within hours, the first vigil candles appeared on Sonya's front porch. Illinois State Police took control of the investigation. The sheriff's office, now under scrutiny, turned over body camera footage and reports. Detectives began interviewing both deputies, Sean Grayson and Dawson Farley, separately. Farley's statement would become the foundation of what came next. He told investigators he never saw Sonya make a threatening move. He said she looked confused, afraid, and that the shooting happened so quickly he barely processed it. Grayson, however, gave a different account. He said he feared she was about to throw boiling water at him. He said he reacted to a perceived threat. But forensic teams found the pot on the floor, tipped away from where Grayson stood. There were no burn marks. No evidence she advanced toward him. The narrative began to crumble. By evening, the sheriff held a press conference. Cameras flashed as he stood at the podium, hands clasped tightly. He called it a tragic event. Promised a transparent investigation. But the questions came fast. Was she armed? Why did he fire 3 times? Was de-escalation training followed? For many, those answers never came soon enough. Within 48 hours, Springfield saw its first protest march. Families, clergy, and neighbors filled the courthouse square holding candles and signs. Some carried photos of Sonya smiling in her church dress. Others carried placards reading, "Help shouldn't kill." The demonstration remained peaceful, but the message was clear. This could have been anyone. State officials announced a special prosecutor review. The governor of Illinois called the case deeply disturbing and urged for bodycam transparency. Meanwhile, reporters dug into Sean Grayson's past. What they found raised more questions. Records revealed multiple job changes in just 5 years, 3 different departments. A prior DUI conviction. An internal reprimand for excessive force. Somehow, despite it all, he was still hired by Sangamon County. Experts questioned how someone with that record passed background checks. Civil rights groups demanded new oversight of deputy hiring practices. The sheriff's office, once quiet, now faced both public outrage and national attention. And through it all, Sonya's family waited. Waiting for answers. Waiting for an apology. Waiting for justice. They spoke only once that week, through a short statement to the press. She was a good woman. She called for help. We just want the truth. As the investigation deepened, the truth was about to emerge on camera. The footage no one was prepared to see. For weeks, the community waited. They waited for clarity, for footage, for proof of what really happened inside that house on Livingstone Road. On July 25, 2024, the Illinois State Police released the bodycam video to the public. The file was just under 6 minutes long, but it would ignite a storm. The footage begins calmly. The two deputies arrive, flashlights scanning the dark. Sonya greets them softly, her voice calm, almost apologetic. They step inside. For the first 2 minutes, there's nothing unusual. They check the doors, the back window, the yard. Then the camera angle shifts. You see Sonya near the stove, a pot in her hand, steam rising. She says, "It's just water." Grayson steps forward, raises his tone, and shouts, "Put it down." She flinches. Then, in the blink of an eye, 3 deafening shots. The footage freezes. Frame by frame, investigators replay the scene. There's no movement toward the deputy. No visible threat. No sign that Sonya ever lifted the pot in aggression. She's seen backing away. Within hours of the release, Springfield's streets filled again. Protesters chanted under candlelight. Signs read, "She called 911. They killed her." For many watching, the footage confirmed what they already felt, that Sonya Massey didn't need a bullet, she needed compassion. The Sangamon County State's attorney announced formal charges the next morning. Sean Grayson was indicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder. His bond was set at $1 million. For the first time in years, a uniformed deputy in Illinois would face trial for the killing of a civilian. The courtroom filled to capacity when proceedings began. Family members sat in the first row, quiet, solemn. Reporters lined the back wall, their cameras trained on the defendant. Grayson appeared calm, expression unreadable. His defense attorney argued self-defense, claiming he acted in fear that boiling water would be thrown at him. But the prosecution showed the footage again, slowed, analyzed, broken down frame by frame. They pointed out the distance between Sonya and the deputy. They showed the angle of her shoulders, the position of the pot, the empty space between them. Their argument was simple. Fear does not justify firing 3 bullets into a woman who called for help. The trial lasted 8 days. Witness after witness took the stand, experts, forensic analysts, and finally Deputy Farley, Grayson's partner that night. His testimony was clear. "She didn't threaten us. She didn't move toward him. I didn't understand why he fired." Those words hung in the air like a verdict of their own. When the jury returned after 2 days of deliberation, the courtroom fell silent. The 4 persons stood, holding the slip of paper. The judge read the verdict aloud. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Sean Grayson, guilty of second-degree murder." Gasps filled the room. Tears rolled down Mary Massey's face as she held her hands together in prayer. For Sonya's family, it was a measure of justice, not full, but something. Outside, the crowd erupted, relief, sorrow, and exhaustion blending into one. The prosecutor thanked the jury. The defense vowed to appeal. The sheriff's office issued a single-line statement. "Deputy Grayson's actions do not reflect our values." Under Illinois law, second-degree murder carries a sentence of 4 to 20 years in prison. Grayson awaits sentencing, scheduled for January 2026. But for the Massey family, the verdict is only part of the story. The question that remains is one this country has asked before. How many more calls for help must end in tragedy before something truly changes? When the verdict came down, relief rippled through Springfield, but it didn't bring Sonya back. For her family, justice was never about punishment alone. It was about change, about making sure that what happened to her would never happen again. In the months after the trial, Illinois lawmakers introduced the Massey Bill, a proposal calling for mandatory psychological screening and crisis intervention training for all new deputies statewide. Departments across the Midwest began reviewing their own policies on use of force and de-escalation. National advocacy groups cited Sonya's case as a textbook example of how fear and poor training can turn a welfare check into a tragedy. Springfield's police academy added new simulations, scenes not of armed suspects, but of frightened citizens calling for help. Instructors played the bodycam video, stopping at key moments to ask recruits, what could have been done differently? For many young officers, it was the first time they saw what hesitation and misunderstanding could cost. Sonya's home, once sealed with yellow tape, now bears a small plaque on the porch. Neighbors maintain it, planting flowers each spring. A small wooden cross leans against the railing. Someone always adds fresh candles. Each July, her church holds a memorial service. They read her favorite verse from Psalms. "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" For her mother, those words mean something different now. Fear, she says, is no longer hers to carry. It's a burden the world must learn from. Across the nation, stories like Sonya's echo, names spoken at rallies, printed on signs, whispered at vigils. Some ask, how many more? Others ask, what now? But almost everyone agrees on one thing: the system must change. In 2025, Sangamon County quietly approved a $10 million civil settlement with Sonya's family, the largest in county history. The money cannot erase what happened, but it stands as an acknowledgement, a rare admission that something was deeply wrong. Experts now cite the Massey case in law enforcement training manuals and university classrooms. It's studied not for the violence itself, but for the seconds before it, the warning signs ignored, the voice unheard. One professor at the University of Illinois put it best. When a citizen calls 911, they're not just asking for protection. They're offering trust. And every act of excessive force is the betrayal of that trust. That trust, once broken, takes years to rebuild. But Sonya's story, retold again and again, has become a small step toward that rebuilding. Her name now lives beyond Springfield. In legislation. In training rooms. In the quiet prayers of families who still wait for their own justice. She was 36. She loved her faith, her peace, her home. On the night she called for help, she believed someone would come to protect her. And though that promise was broken, her story continues to protect others. A reminder that behind every statistic is a human life, and behind every badge a choice. For Sonya Massey, that choice came too late. But for us, it still remains. You've been watching True Crime Tales. If you believe stories like Sonya's need to be told, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep sharing truth, compassion, and justice.